Good morning. This is a video that's serving as an introduction to Elluminate Live, which is one of the new tools that is available to you when you're teaching in Sakai. So I just wanted to give a brief rundown of how you could use it in your courses and some of the basic functionality, how to set it up, how to run a session, and some of the limitations and problems that you might run into. I'm going to start off in my workspace, and I'm going to go to a orientation site that I've set up. I've already started the Elluminate Live tool, but if you don't have one in your course, you can add it by going to the Edit Tools section, and in the Edit Tools, look for Elluminate Live, and it'll say Sakai client for Elluminate server, and just make sure that that's checked. Click the continue and it will show, and you'll want to make sure that it says Elluminate Live Bridge, and when you finish, Elluminate Live will show up in the left hand column of your tools menu. So when we click Elluminate Live as an instructor, you're going to see three options. You can create a session, view recordings, or configure a page. So in this case, what we're going to do is create a session for just a few minutes from now, and it is currently 11:18 right now, and I'm going to go ahead and set it for 11:30. And an end date will be when the recording session is over. So for instance, if you wanted to set up a meeting with your student for an hour, you would set it up here. You can also make it in 15-minute increments or make it a little bit longer. If you want to do this as a regular feature, say every Monday afternoon, you can set it up for a daily or a weekly occurrence. In this case, I'm just going to do a simple one session. I'm going to go ahead and add it to the site calendar, and the boundary time is set to 15 minutes. You can make it longer or shorter, and what the boundary time is the time students have to log in beforehand. So in other words, a boundary time of 15 for a 11:30 meeting will mean that students can actually start logging in at 11:15. In some cases you may want this a little bit longer, but for the most part 15 minutes is a good setup. You may also want to set it up longer if you've got a lot of prep to do. So if you have a PowerPoint that you want to upload to the site that's going to take a while, you might want to extend it out for an hour if you plan to be there early. But in this case, we're just going to say 15 minutes. So you can restrict participation. So for instance, if you've got multiple classes set up in the same Sakai, I don't think any of you do, but if you did, you can restrict certain types. So you could say only students from this particular section. In this case, we're just going to leave this empty, and in your case, when you go to your class, you should see all the current students in the available participant, and then you will be in the moderator role. Then we have session attributes. In this case, I usually suggest keeping the recording mode manual. This gives you control over start times. If you make it automatic, the recording will start exactly on time. And so if there's some formalities and checks and some false starts and the real course doesn't get started till 10 minutes after, you'll have 10 minutes of wasted recording that people will have to sit through. Number of simultaneous talkers, usually you want to keep that to a minimum, 2 or 1. You get too many, people can talk over each other. Keep everything else supervised permissions. That's generally something you want to just keep standard. So when we click submit, you'll notice two things. You'll get a confirmation that this session has been created, you'll get some information, and then you're also getting a guest link. So now students, when they access this, can access it through Sakai, going to the Elluminate Live bridge, but you can also take this particular link, copy it, and you can paste it into an email to your class. So now when we go to exit to available sessions, you'll notice that your session is now set up. You can come back and at any time remove it, edit it, or look at the details. So if I go to the details, if I forgot what my session was or what the link was, I can always go to detail to get that, or I can edit any of this information at any time. Notice that the status says starting soon, and so I'm going to go to the site. Now, a couple things to keep in mind is that the way you start a session changes depending on what browser you use. Currently, I'm doing this in Chrome, And in Chrome, what I do is I click, and it's going to give me this option to launch session. And as soon as I click that, it's going to actually download another program. And I'll see it download right here. It's going to ask me if I want to save it. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Now in Chrome, it's really nice and simple because all I have to do is double click on this button. Otherwise, what I would have to do is go to where I have my browser set up to download files and open it from there. So for instance, if I were to switch over to Internet Explorer, which I have right here, looks exactly the same, but whenever I click the orientation and then I click launch session, it comes up with a message down here that it says that it's downloading the picture. You'll notice that there's a yellow band on the very top. What they need to do is click that band and then click download file. Once they do that, then Java 6 will come up and Elluminate Live will open up in a separate window. Now, one thing that's important to note is that this is a completely separate program, independent of your web browser. So this is Elluminate Live. We'll see that it shows the participants here. Your participants can raise their hand. You'll notice that we've got a little hand here, and it'll start blinking if anybody's raising their hand. They can also show little emoticons, like if they're confused or they're happy. They can also clap, and they can boo. If the microphone is on, that means that they have the ability to use the microphone. If it's turned off, then they can't speak. So most of your students won't have this microphone, but as soon as you turn it on, they'll be able to talk. Also, you have a chat area where students can ask questions by typing. And then down here we have our recorder. Now in this case I haven't started recording, but as soon as I click start, it will record. So a couple things to note. Here is the public screen. This is what your students will see. You can use a variety of pencils, highlighters, pens. You can draw pictures here. You can actually add and upload pictures. And so you can use this to illustrate your lectures. More importantly though, there is a load presentation button right down here at the bottom. If we click that and we say after the current screen, I want to upload, I select my Elluminate presentation, click open, click OK. I'll notice that my PowerPoint is now loaded up here. So you'll see that the forward button and the fast forward button are highlighted, and it now says 1 to 7 instead of just 1 to 1. So to start my PowerPoint, I can be talking and click forward, and there's my PowerPoint, the first slide in my PowerPoint presentation. When I click forward again, I can then go into my presentation and talk about it. So why use Elluminate Live? Well, first of all, it is definitely an important part of having real-time discussions and lectures. You can also check for understanding in real time. It's perfect for online learning. You do have those recording options that I talked about that allow you to record these sessions. It's good for formative assessment tools, which I'll show just in a little bit. It's cross-platform. You don't have to worry. It works on Mac, Linux, and Windows. And it's good for keeping it real. One of the problems with online education is that often students feel like they are disconnected from other students and disconnected from the instructor. This is a good way of letting them see that you are a real person. Okay, so a few concerns is that there is a bit of a learning curve. First time you do it, some students may not know where their browser downloads the file to. You may have some problems with access. These are not technical issues. These are just an issue of getting it into the workflow of your students. Knowing what some of the issues are beforehand is very important, which means that you need to try this before you start. Try it, play around with it, and make sure that you are comfortable with the tool as well. But then let the students know that this is a good way for them to communicate with you. Different browsers do act a little bit differently, as I showed. You want to test the PowerPoint upload before the class starts. Definitely do not want to upload a PowerPoint during the class because it does take some time and it won't let you do anything else while it's uploading. If it's a graphic intensive PowerPoint, you want to give it plenty of time. Keep your files small, graphics to a minimum, and you want to test it before it starts so that you make sure that there's no unforeseen problems. This is not very good for small group discussion. It is good for large presentations. So a group of 10 people, you're giving a PowerPoint presentation, it's perfect for that. If I want to give feedback to a person or a group about their project, this may not be the best way. You could do it with tools like Skype out there. So a couple examples of ways that you can use PowerPoint in here. So I've got the drawing tools, which I already showed, but you can actually build these into your presentation by just having a slide that's blank that you could then draw on and use to highlight. And in this case, in real-time formative assessment, what is the most interesting feature of Elluminate? Recording lectures, communicate. I'm going to go to the very bottom and say all of the above. Now, if I want to get the feedback from students, now it's kind of hard because I don't have any students in here, but if I want to, you'll notice that this check and minus over here. Students have access to give feedback using this check and minus, but check and minus really doesn't work here. So if I go to Tools, Polling, and I say Multiple Choice A through E, you'll notice that this now says A through E. So I'm going to check all of the above, and I click E, and I'm going to, if I've got more students here, I'll see all of their answers down the side. But if I want to reveal this to the students, I can then go and click the button Publish Polling Results, and it will actually show me the polling results, and I can move that around so they can still see everything. And I can in real time get a sense of what students think about this tool. So advance. So if you use Elluminate Live, remember, strongly suggest using it. Don't require it. Now you can require them to go and see the recording, but part of the problem with online is that many times people will be in different time zones. They take online courses primarily because they can't fit other types of courses into their schedules. And so if you're going to meet on Monday at 6 o'clock, say, we strongly suggest that you're here, but if not, you can review the recording at any time. So in that case, you really need to remember to keep your recordings, or make sure that you record. Keep it simple and explore this yourself and have fun. There's a lot of tools here. Explore and play around with it. There are some other really interesting things that you can do. So once you're finished, let's say this is the end of our course, now what we can do is click this button. It's going to ask me if I really want to leave the session. Okay. And then I can just go ahead and close the session. And I come back to the Elluminate Live, and here, and if I refresh, we'll see back to the normal page. Now later, what students will come to is they'll come here to this Elluminate Live, and they can come to they won't see the create sessions, but they'll see the recorded sessions. So the recorded session isn't here yet, and about an hour after the end of your session, the recording will be here. And the process is just the same as before, where they'll click it, they'll download a little Java app, then it opens up, and what they will see is exactly what you saw as you were presenting. The only difference, obviously, is that they won't be able to participate with the surveys or be able to ask questions, but they will get all the content that you have given it to them. I hope you use this tool. I hope you find it useful. Thank you very much.